Hello Saren, sorry if I butchered your name. I'm Espinal Shory and today I'll be reviewing your requested Diana game. So, heading into the game, the first thing we want to do in every single game is we want to analyze and visualize our lane matchup. So how does Diana function into Cassiopeia? Well, believe it or not, Diana can actually poke down Cassiopeia pretty easily. Diana wins the short trades, the short interactions. Diana is favored. Cassiopeia wins the more extended interactions because Diana does have quite long cooldowns, and Cassiopeia obviously has a very short cooldown on her E and her Q, so she can go for very extended trades. So it is super important that you don't get frozen on in this lane, because if you get frozen on, what's gonna happen is the enemy lane is gonna be, or the enemy Cassiopeia is gonna be able to just sit under her tower and just chill here, and you're gonna be forced to play pretty far up, which means that the lane gets very long for you, right? Because if you're playing pretty far up, there's long distance to your tower, so the enemy can trade with you for a longer duration of time. So it's really important that you don't get frozen on. Also, you freezing is completely fine, because it forces the enemy Cassiopeia to walk up very far, so it's very easy for you to poke her, and it's pretty hard for her to go for an extended trade on you, because conversely, now you're playing close to your tower, right? So she doesn't have a very long lane to poke you in, or to take an extended trade with you, right? So you can easily back off if she tries to go for anything, and it's very easy for you to just walk up and poke her, and she's very, like, susceptible to a gank. So we want to try to set up a freeze in this lane, if possible. Diana does have the poke advantage. She does win in that regard as well. You can kind of control the wave most of the time, just because your Q is super powerful. Super high damage on it once you get a couple of levels into it, and once you get double Dorans. So we want to try to set up freezes in this lane. The way we set up freezes mid lane, or just in any lane actually, is by slow pushing one wave, then hard pushing the wave afterwards, so the next wave. So slow push one wave and hard push the next wave. And then what happens is the third wave starts slow pushing into you, and the fourth wave is going to freeze. Generally, what we do is between the second and the third wave, so after we've slow pushed one wave and hard pushed the next wave, we go for a recall, or we go for a roam if it's possible, or we go for jungle camps. We farm jungle camps. Whichever option you pick, it is just absolutely crucial that you are back by the time that the fourth wave hits. Because otherwise, the enemy mid laner can just push it out and crash it into your tower, and then you can't set up the freeze, right? So it's super important that you're back in lane by the time that that happens. Also, just to note it, recalling is generally considered the safest and most consistent option here, just because it allows you to refill your HP and mana, and it allows you to spend your gold and get a gold advantage. So we want to try to do this in the lane, right? So remember, short interactions in this lane, just poke her heavily, try to set up freezes. And then you can start pushing her in when you get a couple of levels, and then you'll be able to get a couple of roams off, like, pretty easily. First thing is here. This is one of these situations where right now you've built a slow push, right? You've slow pushed one wave, you've slow pushed the first wave. So what do we want to do? We want to hard push this wave, right? Slow push one wave, hard push the next wave, and then look to do something. In this situation, it's too early in the game to roam, obviously, and you don't have enough gold to buy anything if you recall, so that's unnecessary as well. So we can't roam, we can't recall. We can't really farm a jungle camp either, but we can just go for a ward. So we just want to go for a ward, you can just go ward the enemy jungle, and that's completely fine. But you just want to push out this wave as fast as possible. If you push it out too slowly, this ends up happening, where now the lane is frozen on you. Right? Now Cassiopeia can freeze this minion wave. And now you have to be pretty overextended to push it out when Cassiopeia hits level 2, and she can go for an extended trade for you, or on you, right? Because you're pretty far up in the lane, because the lane is frozen. So you had to push it out a lot faster, right? Next we go to here, which is just a point where now you have a freeze. Oh, whoops. Where now you've got a freeze. So it is super important that you keep the freeze. And the way to do it, and the way to generally just play lane, is here, right? What you want to do when you've got a freeze like this is you want to punish the Cassiopeia every time she has to walk up, right? So every time Cassiopeia has to walk up for a minion, you want to hit her with a Q. Because it's impossible for her to reciprocate damage onto you, because you're so close to your tower, so you can just back off very safely. This is just something you want to do overall. This is not just when you're freezing, but it's a lot easier to do when you're freezing. So, let's look at this freeze frame for a moment. What do you want to do here? Well, you want to auto-attack this minion, right? What does Cassiopeia want to do soonish? Let's actually play it for a bit so we can see it. What does Cassiopeia want to do right here? Because you using your Q there was actually really bad. Because what does Cassiopeia want to do right now? She wants to walk up here and E this minion. So if we know that she wants to walk up and to this location to E the minion, and we know she's gonna stand here to E the minion, why in the world would we throw out our Q when she has no reason to walk up yet? You threw out your Q too early. You have to wait until they actually have a reason to walk up and until you know exactly where they're gonna stand until you throw your Qs. Otherwise you're wasting a lot of mana. You want to wait until they have to go for minions. Because while they're going for minions, it is impossible for them to move, right? While Cassiopeia is going for this minion, she can't just magically walk to the right. Because she's locked in place while she's going for the minion. While she's Eing that minion, she's locked in her E animation. So she has to stand here. And she's gonna be standing still, so a Q is very easy to hit on her. And you can do this on every single minion in the lane. It happens, like these opportunities arise so frequently during the laning phase. And it is super important that you start looking for them. I will say, however, you're missing a lot of CS just by flat out missing it, not by you getting forced off it or anything. So it will be pretty difficult to get into the habit of doing this while you yourself are CSing. So I would recommend heading into Practice Tool and practicing CSing alongside this. Just go into Practice Tool for 10 minutes a day and practice it for 10 minutes. Like, practice CSing while paying attention to your own minions for 10 minutes. And then look to get around 80 to 90 CS at 10 minutes. I think 108 is perfect CSing at 10 minutes, or 106 or something like that. But you just want to get around 80 to 90. Like, that's all you want to do. And if you can get around 80 to 90 CS while you're looking at your own minions and you're punishing the enemy mid laner for walking up, you'll find yourself having a lot more success in the lane. Like, a lot more. However, it will take quite a while to get used to doing it. And it will require quite a bit of practice. So don't be too hard on yourself if you can't figure it out at first. Because it is difficult and it does require practice. Here, just an opportunity where it is super important that at this specific instance, you conserve your mana. Because you can kill Cassiopeia with one full combo, right? So right now, you're just trying to save mana and wait for your cooldowns to come up. You almost have enough mana to go for a full combo. So just wait, CS the minions, and just get your mana. The last thing you want to do is push the wave into her tower fully. Because you can't dive her, right? It's impossible for you to dive her. This is fine. Like, the wave being here is fine because she still has to play out from the tower. So you can kill her before she can run to her tower. But if you push in the wave fully into her tower, she can just sit on her tower and farm the minion waves. So you don't want that right now. You still want her to be outside of the tower range. So you don't want to push this next minion wave. You just want to CS the minions as slowly as possible. And then kill her when you have the mana. And again, only look to Q when she has an actual reason to walk up. This Q is a waste. Wait until she has to walk up to farm this minion. And then you throw the Q and then you jump on her. Right? Because now you don't have enough mana for your combo. And here you don't have your Q up. If you had your Q up and you hit your Q, she was dead. Q, E, auto attack, W, E, again, she was dead. But because you missed the initial Q, because you just fired it out without waiting for her to go up for a CS, you end up not getting the kill on her and you actually end up dying for it. Actually, you don't end up dying here. I don't think. No, you end up having to blow flash, which obviously sucks. Here, honestly, just back off and teleport back to the lane. Like, there's no way you can stay in lane here. So just back off and TP in. I know you're looking for the Cassiopeia, but this is so unbelievably greedy from you. There's no reason to do it. Just back off and TP into the lane. You do end up finding her because she completely trolls. But like, realistically, that should not happen, right? So just back off and, yeah. But now that you did kill her, the correct play now is actually to stay in lane and push out another wave and then back off and TP. Because no one can contest you now. If Fiddlesticks comes in from here, you can just run away, right? If Fiddlesticks comes from here, you can run away. You know he's on the top side of the map, so as long as you're playing bot side right now and pushing out the wave on the bot side, you can get a wave very easily. We saw him walk top side, so it's pretty easy for you now. Like, here, the correct play just walks down here, or is you walking down here, pushing out the wave, walking back, recalling, and then you don't have to TP back to lane, you can just walk back. And then you have a TP advantage, which is obviously massive. Here, again, you've got a freeze, so now, whenever Cassiopeia has to walk up, you want to just hit her with a Q. Here, pull the minion wave to the right and hold the freeze. Hold the freeze here. Wait for the next minion wave to come in, and then punish Cassiopeia every time she walks up with a Q. But the key thing here is just that you pull the minion wave to the right to hold the freeze. Here, when you see Cassiopeia roaming, so when you know she's roaming, instead of slow pushing the wave like this, it is super important that you push out the minion wave as fast as possible, and then you either look to take plates, you look to take jungle camps, or you look to roam to the other side of the map. So here we can infer that she's roaming because she's not in the lane, right? She's either roaming or recalling. In which case, you pushing out this wave is going to give you priority and going to allow you to make a roam happen on the bot side of the map. So here, just push out this wave as fast as possible because it's not freezing for you and she's not in the lane. And here, because you didn't push it out fast enough, now the lane is actually frozen for Cassiopeia. So you have to stay mid lane now and push out this wave, like finish pushing out this wave, and then you can roam bot lane. But the best play obviously would have just been to hard push the wave initially instead of like ending up in this awkward situation now where you have to stay mid lane and hard push the wave. Here, when you're trading with Cassiopeia, it is super important that you don't, like, after you use your Q like this, just back off. You've hit your Q, you've poked her out, just back off. Diana plays out in a very unique way compared to most other champions, in that usually she just pokes a lot with Q because it's her main damage spell. Pokes with Q, until they're low enough HP, around half HP, and then she jumps them and one-shots them. It's not like she frequently goes for a lot of trades, because Diana doesn't have a way out once she's gone in, right? So if you go in here now, and Cassiopeia hits you with an ult, you don't have anything left. Right? And she can kill you because it's an extended trade. So unless you can one-shot her, very rarely do you actually jump on people in lane. Unless you can basically one-hit them. Or unless they can't trade back onto you. Because once Diana jumps in, all of her spells are on cooldown. And they're on cooldown for quite a while. We're talking like 15 and 20 seconds, right? So generally the way Diana plays out is just pokes with Q, backs off, waits for Q cooldown, walks up again, pokes with Q again, walks back, waits for Q, walks up, pokes with Q, and then jumps on them if she can kill them, right? Or if they can't trade back. So don't look to jump on every single Q you hit. Next, I want to show you something that you did really well, actually. Which was, you pushed out the wave mid lane. You didn't push it out fast enough, which obviously sucks. You wanted to push it out a bit faster so this wave would crash under tower. But after you push it out, you went for a roam. And this is super good. After we get priority mid lane, we want to look to do something, right? We can either go for a base. That's something that's viable. Or you can go for a roam. Or you can farm jungle camps. Or you can go for wards. Or you can go for plates. But rarely do you ever go for plates. So, right now, we don't want to farm jungle camps, we don't want to go for wards, we can't go for plates because Cassiopeia is there, so it's either backing or going for a roam, right? But we don't need to back, so we can go for a roam. So, this is super good. You recognize that roaming is an option, and you end up roaming bot lane. Something to be wary of, though, is now Cassiopeia is actually pushing in this wave. So, unless this roam can be played off, like, very quickly, which it ends up being, you have to run back mid lane, right? But, fortunately, you end up getting the roam off very quickly, and now you go mid, you push out another wave. And again, here, you have to stay mid lane, you have to just continuously poke her, not jump on her, just poke her, poke her, poke her. Here, you want to push this wave, and then you want to roam again. So just push this wave now, and then roam. This was super good. Here, don't actually jump on the Cassiopeia, just hit her with the Q, and then walk around here, and look to hit her with another Q once she goes for these minions. If your Q is up by the time, you don't actually have to jump on her every single time and go for the all-in unless you're absolutely certain that you can kill her. Just poke her with Qs. Here, this is really good as well. You push out the wave and then you go for a roam. Here, though, you can't actually go for the roam after you clear the pink ward. Now you have to go back mid lane and push out the wave and then you can go for a roam. It is super important that you finish pushing out the wave every single time and then you roam afterwards. Right now, the waves are too close to each other mid lane. Like, this wave has already arrived, so you have to walk back mid lane now, push it out, and then you can roam bot lane afterwards. But that's just something to be aware of. That you have to push it out every single time. And here, again, you have to push out the minion wave and then roam. You can't just roam first. Like, you can't roam right before the minion waves are about to meet in the mid lane. You have to stay mid lane, push out the minion wave, and then roam as soon as you pushed it out. You don't push it out, wait around mid lane, and then roam. That doesn't work. Like, you have to be as fast as possible. Here, after you push this out, we want to look for something. Can we roam anywhere? Can't roam top, can't roam bot. We don't know where anyone is. Okay, so we can't roam. We don't need to recall. Can we find resources anywhere else then? Yes, there's a jungle camp up right here. So just grab this jungle camp. Just grab the jungle camp if you can't roam anywhere and you don't need to recall. Here, instead of helping your Kane on the dragon here, there's no one left, literally no one left alive that can contest it. So he can easily solo this Drake, so just walk mid lane, push out this wave, and then go back and recall. Like, you don't have to help him here. There's no reason to. He can do it on his own. There's no one that can contest it. It's just a waste of time. But you could be farming mid lane and you could be getting a good recall. This is good. This is super good. You can't roam anywhere, so you look for additional resources on the wraiths. Super fucking good. That's what I want to see. If you don't think you can roam, then you farm a jungle camp. Here, however, back to the mid lane, push out the wave, and then roam bot lane. You have to push out the wave before you roam. Right now, you're halfway down to bot lane, and the waves have already met mid lane. If Cassiopeia was mid lane, she would just push out this wave, and she could follow the roam bot lane. Right? That's why we push out the wave first, so the enemy mid laner can't follow our roam. And if they follow our roam, they just end up losing out on a wave mid lane. Again, here, don't jump immediately. Just poke with Qs, poke with Qs, poke with Qs. So important that you poke with Qs instead of jumping. Here, again, poke with Qs, poke with Qs. Don't just jump in. Just poke with Qs and chill out. Like, you don't have to jump in every single time. Just poke with Qs, poke with Qs. Here, this is kind of fine, but now I would prefer to see you go into a side lane. Why? Because your Ashe is going mid lane, right? And your Garen is mid lane right now as well. And you don't want to share gold with your team. You don't want to share gold and XP with your team. You want to get all the gold onto yourself and all the XP onto yourself. So right now, we want to head into a side lane so we can get solo gold and solo XP. And also so we can start applying pressure to towers. Especially as someone like a Diana who takes towers very quickly. So right now, you can just walk bot lane, you can take this wave, you can push in the next wave, and you can start applying pressure to this bot lane tower. And what will happen is someone has to come bot lane and defend this tower, and then what you can do is while someone is bot lane defending this tower, that's when you go through the jungle like this, and you go behind the enemy team and you look for a flank, and you try to force a 5v4 fight there. But you have to get into the side lane first. You go into a side lane, you apply pressure to the side lane, and then you group up with your team. You actually do this quite a few times. You actually do it very soon in the game, and I was super fucking happy to see it. I was really happy to see it. Really happy to see it. Here, I would prefer if you went through river like this to get a better angle on the enemy team so you can cut them off more easily than you just walking through your own jungle like this. Because as an assassin like Diana, you want to try to come from behind and flank the enemy team instead of coming from the same angle as your own team. Because if you come from here, it's obviously a lot harder to find the Cassiopeia. Like if you come from here, it's a lot harder to find the Cassiopeia than if you come from here. Because here you're cutting off one of her exits, right? Here you're not really cutting off one of her exits. Right? So yeah, that's why this is better, or this over here is better than this down here. Because you're cutting off her exit here. So that's what you want to try to do. But it's super fucking good. You go into a side lane, and then you try to group up with your team afterwards and force a fight. Really good. Really good. That's what I want to see. But here, after you can see that the fight realistically is working out, here, wait for your cooldowns. Do not jump immediately. Wait for your Q. Wait for your W. Space out the cooldowns in fights. You don't have to jump in every single time. Wait for your cooldowns to come back up. You're very vulnerable when you don't have your cooldowns available, and you don't really deal that much damage. So just wait for them to come back up, and then jump in. Here, again, head into a side lane. Here, you want to go bot lane, and your Ashe wants to go mid lane. So you go bot lane, take this wave, take the next wave, look to do the same thing again. Look to flank the enemy team, instead of letting your Ashe go bot lane. Here, again, look for additional resources. Where can we find additional resources right now? So, these wolves are up, so just go grab the wolves. You don't have anything else to farm, so you might as well just farm the jungle camps, right? Next we go to here. Where, again, here, you don't just want to run mid lane because your bot lane is already running mid lane. You want to head into a side lane. If Garen goes bot lane, then you go top lane. If Garen goes top lane, then you go bot lane. Same reasoning as before. Let's go back a bit, actually, so we can see this fight. So here, this is good, this is good, this is good. Flashing like that is a bit unnecessary. Just play out the fight a bit slower. You don't have to flash on the enemy backline immediately. Just play it out slowly. Hit a Q on this guy, and then you can jump on this guy, and you can flash on the Caitlyn afterwards. You don't just have to flash EQ her. Like that doesn't really work unless you have enough HP. And you didn't press W either, so you kind of just choked it a bit mechanically. Again, here. Go into the lane, push out the lane first, and then after you've pushed out the lane, that's when you look for additional resources. You don't look for additional resources first and then go push out the wave. You want to push out the wave first, because the wave isn't here forever. Minions will die, and you want to apply pressure quickly, and then when you have the pressure, you want to look to do something else. You don't want to look to do something else and then apply the pressure afterwards. But yeah, the enemy team kind of just wins a very decisive fight. Or you kind of win a decisive fight here, and then you get Baron and the game should be over, but unfortunately it's not. Here again, you want to go bot lane. Why? Because you want to apply pressure to bot lane, and then if a fight breaks out at Nash, you can teleport up, and if someone goes down to bot lane, you can also teleport up and try to force a fight. So you want to go side lane here. Apply pressure to the side lane, and if need be, you can teleport up to the Nash, right? So that's why you want to go bot lane, and your Garen doesn't. But yeah, at this point, you win a massive fight, you get the Baron, and the game should basically end, but a bit of shenaniganry ends up taking place, so it doesn't. But yeah, these are the most important stages of the game. The full late game doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, that's all I've got for you. Just to summarize, in lane, look to punish the enemy when they're CSing, practice your own CSing, finish pushing out the wave before you roam, look to utilize these slow pushes to create good recall timings and good roam timings. During mid-game, super important that you farm jungle camps whenever possible after you've pushed out a wave and gotten priority. And you look to side lane and apply pressure to the side lane and then groove up with your team and look for a flank on the enemy team. But yeah, that's all I've got for you. Have a good one. See ya.